Let's take a look at the testes and the important things that happen inside the testes. Remember, the testes is made up of a whole bunch of very small tubes called seminiferous tubules, and it's inside the seminiferous tubules that's where the sperm are made. And of course, then we've got the structure that sits on top of the testes called the epididymis. The job of the epididymis is to store the sperm after they're made, and it's also in the epididymis where the sperm become fully mature. So the sperm are made in these seminiferous tubules, and after they're made, they're moved down these tubules until they get to the epididymis, and it's there that they wait and where they become mature and ready to actually fertilize an egg. Here's a cross-section of the testes. Here we see a number of things. Number one, we see 4 sections of seminiferous tubules. So here's one, here's another, here's another, here's another. It's inside these tubes that the sperm are made. And here you can actually see, if you look close, you can actually see the tails of the developing sperm. So it's inside these tubes that the sperm are made. But that's not the only important structure here. Between the seminiferous tubules, we have special cells. The special cells are called interstitial cells, and they also have an extremely important role. It's the interstitial cells that secrete the testosterone. And of course, testosterone is necessary for sperm production. If you don't make enough testosterone, you won't make very much sperm. Now let's look at the process of spermatogenesis. This is a fancy word that basically means the making of sperm. This, of course, happens in the seminiferous tubules. It starts with the spermatogonia. Spermatogonium would be the singular. These are the special cells located in the tubes, in the tubules, that actually make the sperm. Now, the spermatogonia divide once by mitosis to form a primary spermatocyte, and the other one is going to stay as a spermatogonium so it can continue to make sperm. The primary spermatocyte then is going to divide form 2 secondary spermatocytes, and the secondary spermatocytes, each one of them is going to divide to form 4 spermatids. Now, a spermatid is a cell that will eventually become a sperm, but it is not yet a sperm. It's got some maturing to do, but eventually those spermatids will become mature sperm. Now, one other thing I want to point out to you is that the cells that we start with, spermatogonium, have 46 chromosomes. That is typical of human beings. Almost every cell in your body has 46 chromosomes. Why is it then that when we're done, we make sperm that have 23 chromosomes? Well, of course, the correct number for a human being is 46. If sperm have 23, when they fertilize the egg, which would contain the other 23 chromosomes, the total of that fertilized egg should have 46 chromosomes, which is the correct number. Now this is again inside the seminiferous tubules, and we see this would be the inside of the tube, like it's called the lumen, the space on the inside of the tube, and this would be the wall of the tube. Here are the spermatogonia. These are the cells that make the sperm, so they'll divide to form spermatocytes, and they'll divide to form spermatids, and then here are some sperm that are clearly not mature yet, but on their way. Now, one other very important structure we want to point out in the seminiferous tubules themselves are these cells here, the Sertoli cells. These are quite large cells, and they have a pretty important job. They basically take care of, nourish the developing sperm. If you didn't have Sertoli cells, then we would have underdeveloped, undernourished sperm that would just not be able to do the job that they're meant to do. So the Sertoli cells are very important in that they take care of the sperm. They help them get the nutrients they need to develop. One other really important job of the Sertoli cells is that they secrete the hormone inhibin. And I'll talk about inhibin in a couple of slides. Actually, I'll talk about inhibin right now. Here's the feedback loop that controls sperm and testosterone production in the male. Of course, you've already learned about some of these hormones in the endocrine system. It involves, of course, the hypothalamus and the anterior pituitary gland, which, of course, are located in your brain. The hypothalamus will secrete a releasing hormone. Now, you do need to know this releasing hormone. It's a specific releasing hormone called GnRH. It stands for gonadotropic releasing hormone. It goes the short distance to the pituitary gland, and when it gets there, it tells it to secrete two hormones, FSH and LH. Another name for LH is ICSH, but the term that you're going to see in this course is LH. Now, FSH goes to the seminiferous tubules, and when it gets there, it causes the making of sperm. LH also goes to the testes, but not the seminiferous tubules. Instead, it goes to the cells between the seminiferous tubules, called the interstitial cells, and it causes the release of testosterone. Now, of course, there's negative feedback here. So when testosterone levels are high, they'll travel through the blood, back up to the anterior pituitary and hypothalamus, and inhibit them. In other words, turn off the release of GnRH and LH to prevent the over-release of testosterone. Now, there's also negative feedback in terms of sperm production, but of course sperm is not a hormone, so it's not the sperm that turns itself off. In this case, remember the Sertoli cells. The Sertoli cells are the cells that take care of and nourish the developing sperm. But if sperm levels are quite high, they will secrete inhibin. And it's inhibin, that's the hormone that will travel through the bloodstream all the way back to the brain, where it will inhibit the anterior pituitary gland and hypothalamus, thereby turning off the FSH and thereby preventing further sperm production.